This double bass was made by William Booth 1 and 2. So the Booth family were instrument makers from Leeds, and they were active sort of 1820 onwards through to sort of 1850-ish. William Booth 1, the father, was a hairdresser actually, and he started repairing instruments and eventually moved into making them. And his earliest instruments, sort of the evidence is the early 1820s that they were made. He had a son of the same name. He left to go, but it's believed that he left to go to learn watchmaking in Switzerland. But he returned about 1838 to Leeds and worked with his father. By that time, I think his father would have been quite well established repairing instruments and making them as well. So this double bass really feels like it's the son, I think, as well. So I would date this to about 1840, 1845. I'll show you in a minute, but the big difference, I think, is the heads. And they're just a little bit sort of lighter feeling than the father's work, which is a bit heavier and a bit darker feeling. So the Northern English makers sort of divide into two schools. So you've got the Manchester school, which is vial-shaped and very, very distinctive. You know, William Tarr, James Cole, James Briggs, they sort of sit in one area. The other area, which tends to be from outside Manchester, such as Leeds and other places from up north, they were sort of stuck making the old London style of instruments. So the instruments that have been made around London Bridge in the 18th century, before Dragonetti arrived and sort of changed the London style of making to a more Brescian, what you'd think today is like the Kennedys and John Lotts and stuff. But there was a whole, during that time of making and before, there was a much larger style of instrument, and the Northern English makers hung on to the old London style, of which this is. So typical old London style would be large pattern, very bulbous large arch on the front, very wide purfling. Often the purfling can actually be set very far in from the edge. This example isn't, but you can have a really wide purfling, really far set in. So, flat back very often as well. So this example obviously is all of those things. Very Steiner styled sound holes, very kind of old London really. That's sort of Steinery influence. This double bass we've completely restored in our workshop, and we have converted it, or sort of really converted it to 5 strings. So it carries 5 strings beautifully. This massive tubby arch just really is perfect for it. And we've got a nice high bridge, nice big overstand. So playing with a German bow, really easy and super comfortable to play. It sounds like a beast, really absolute huge, warm, big sound, but it's got really nice tension under the strings, really powerful. It's a fab instrument, really nice. So the wood on the front, I think it's great. Lovely big slabby pieces of wood. You see that great big piece of slab there, you know, a couple of really big boards of wood just sawn through and through. That's what they made it out of. I think you have to think often, especially up north, where tone wood would have not been easily available. If you wanted really good top quality violin making wood, it would have had to have come from Europe and sort of, you know, across this channel, would have then, maybe the boat would have landed in London, but it would then have to have got its way to Leeds. So the wood to make a bass at that time would have been at a real premium. So very often the wood you see in instruments made in the northern part of England, bar the Manchester school, can be quite crude, because you think getting the wood there, the difference between a piece of wood that was sawn 5 miles away, you know, and pulled out the wood by a pony and cart and sawn up by hand, would have been much, much cheaper than buying some wood from, you know, that had come by ship from, so let's say Italy, you know, France, wherever. So lovely, really coarse, beautiful, slabby wood, stunning. And the arch is in incredible condition. I mean, it's absolutely glorious, really nice thing. Steiner-esque sort of old English style sound holes, really in character. Very small, light purfling channel. And the ribs, it's nice English sycamore with a bit of flame in it. And, in very good condition as the rest of it is. The back, which is lovely, really nice. Flat back. You can see the really stands out that really wide purfling, really handmade, which is lovely to see. Interestingly, there's this sort of decorative pattern across the back here that you can see, which is quite unusual. And I think it was probably made at the time. It may have come later, I don't know, but it certainly sort of fits in with the instrument. Lovely character to it, and a V here finishing it all off. So the head, which is extremely unusual, it is. It's got an extra turn and a half to it. Very finely cut, but can you see how hunched over it is? I mean, it really just sits over the front here. That's very Booth, very, very Booth-like. It kind of, it's really sort of almost falling off the front. Very deep throat here, hugely deep throat, which is very characteristic of that maker. Lovely Northern English tuners, set on nice plates. It's an absolutely stunning instrument. This is just crying out to be played in a big orchestra, where they really need that huge 5-string power. That's what this bass is for. It's a glorious thing. So anyone looking for a top English bass to play an orchestra, you can't go wrong with this.